Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming or attending tonight. Um, I am Dhamma Vikroy. I'm the chair of the Department of Cinema and Television Arts at California State University, Northridge. And on behalf of my colleagues and my department in the Mike Curb College of Arts, Media, and Communication, I want to welcome you to the first CSUN UNAM Student Film Festival. And I'm pleased to have such a large turnout for a panel discussion tonight, because it confirms that even during a global pandemic, we want to come together and talk about our true passion, which is filmmaking. And my department at CSUN is composed of 6 options, undergraduate options, from film production, television production, documentary production, emerging media production, screenwriting, entertainment media management, and theory and media criticism, with 1,660 undergraduate students and 30 MFA screenwriting students. We constantly boast about our students because from the moment they become CTVA majors, they devote all of their time to telling the stories that matter to them without prejudice or apology. We see them thrive during and after their time in college. Tonight, I'm honored to welcome you and to get a chance to introduce my wonderful colleague, Professor Nate Thomas. He's tonight's host and facilitator. Professor Thomas has been a champion of student films at CSUN for decades. Decades, Nate, decades.
Oh no.
And he had been instrumental in our partnership with important entities like the Hollywood Foreign Press Association and among others. In 2014, received an Emmy Award, and in 2015, he was granted our highest honor in the CSU, the Wang Family Excellence Award. And this is one of our highest honors in our university system for faculty. And as I said before, you're in great hands tonight. And Nate, enjoy yourself and welcome.
Thank you, Professor Vigroy, and good evening. I'm Nate Thomas, Professor of Cinema and Television Arts at CSUN, and thank you for joining us this evening. I'll be facilitating the panel discussion tonight along with my colleague Juan Mara, Professor of Cinema at UNAM, which is the National Autonomous University of Mexico in Mexico City. Professor Moore and I share a passion for teaching, and we both love participating in conversations about the art of making films. And I feel honored to virtually be with him tonight because he is a brilliant filmmaker, as well as a professor who received in 2019 the Lifetime Achievement Award from the International Association of Film and Television Schools that took place in Russia this past fall. What an honor. Having him here today reminds me yet again of why we decided to create this Film Fest. This global perspective matters now more than ever. The purpose of this Film Fest was to showcase the work of our students. For many years, CSUN collaborated with UNAM to put together a Film Fest of Latin American films that were in distribution typically in theaters around the world. Some of the films we used to show were being considered for the Academy Awards in the category of foreign film. While that Film Fest was an exceptional annual event to celebrate international filmmaking, we found that avenues for those kinds of films were plentiful, especially here in Los Angeles. The avenues that are not as available are those that give students an opportunity to share their films with diverse and international audiences. Of course, film fests for students exist, but we realized that the opportunity to show our films exclusively with our partner institution in Mexico did not exist. And we see an urgency for these films to be viewed beyond the confines of an educational setting and an industry event. We need them to be seen as stories our students tell for anyone who wants to listen. Now, I want to take a moment before we jump into the discussion to acknowledge the hard work behind the scenes. First and foremost, I want to thank the filmmakers of all 20 films for making the films, in particular the panelists tonight and Professor Mora. Dean Yan Searcy and his college staff. There's Jackie and Lorraine in the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences. We want to thank them for all of their hard work. Dean Dan Hoskin from the Mike Curb College of Arts Media Communication, my boss. Professor Joe Batista and his student team at Intersect LA in the Department of Art, who led all of the design work and our web presence. So we want to really thank those folks, as well as Paula de Gortari and Alejandra Vega of UNAM Los Angeles, and Dr. Daisy Lemus, a professor here at CSUN and the UNAM Partnership Liaison. And there are many others, as you can see on the slide, that have contributed to this project. But to say a little more about the UNAM partnership, I'm going to turn it over to Dean Yan Searcy.
Thank you very much, Nate, and good evening to all. I'm Yan Searcy, Dean of the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, and I too welcome everyone to this event. In 2013, the former Dean of the college, Dr. Stella Theodoulou, first made plans to partner with UNAM to connect faculty and students of both institutions. The partnership began with the goal to increase cultural exchange and research collaborations. The goal has been realized. CSUN has collaborated with UNAM LA to host lecture series, develop joint programming about social topics, and to develop new curriculum. Noteworthy is just that last year, we opened the iStar Lab on our campus as part of the Center for Geospatial Science and Technology and UNAM's Institute for Geography that hosts a massive database of geospatial information about California, Mexico, and our shared border regions. Certainly, when the idea to turn our film festival into a student film festival to celebrate the work of students at CSUN and UNAM came about, I was definitely delighted. Both of our institutions place students first. Before I briefly explain the film award, named the Stella, I want to make sure that our partner, Ms. Paula de Gortari at UNAM LA, has an opportunity to share a few words and perspective.
Thank you. I just want to welcome you all. I'm just very, very happy to share this. This is a great project that we just started, and this is the idea to have the first Student Film Fest, and the idea is to continue with this work. UNAM Los Angeles is part of the largest university in Latin America, UNAM, and we are so honored to be part of this partnership with CSUN. And on tonight, to share this unique opportunity to share what our students from both universities are capable of doing, and all the stories and all the great things that we have to share. So thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Paula. I just want to thank you personally as well. So you've been just a great ambassador. You've been a great tour guide. You've just been a great partner with all of this. So you represent UNAM well and the students of UNAM extremely well. And I'm happy that you're working with us. And I'm also just happy for your patience as I mangled Spanish when I visited. So thank you again, Paula. So as I mentioned earlier, the original champion of this partnership was Dr. Stella Theodoulou. I know she is watching right now, and I have to say, hi, Stella. Thanks. Thank you very much for all that you have done, all that you continue to do. Stella, just for everyone, she was a faculty member and chair of political science. She also served as dean of the college for about 16 years. And she became the vice provost and then interim provost and vice president of academic affairs. Last year, she, retired only in name. So she continues to work with our campus administration as a special assistant to both the president and the provost. You know, all of this is just to say that Stella is committed to the mission of CSUN. Her reputation at CSUN is that she's a doer. She gets things done, which is very fortunate for us when she learned of the opportunity to partner with UNAM and then create events and programs such as this one that are connecting our students and faculty with each other. She blazed the trail for our campus to have a film fest with UNAM and shared her aspiration for providing a broader lens to the world with our students. Because of her leadership and passion, we created the Stella Award. It will be granted tonight to 4 filmmakers who demonstrate their passion for cinema and a unique lens for telling stories with their short films. The 4 films receiving the award were selected by faculty at CSUN and UNAM. Though I should also say that the other 16 films were also selected by the faculty to be included in the FilmFest, and those filmmakers deserve grand recognition as well. But tonight, the focus is on the 4 winners of the inaugural Stella Award. So without more delay, I would like to formally acknowledge and grant the award of Best Film to Amal, directed by Dilek Inse. Also, Ben Dod Shelley, directed by Daniel Jonathan. El Canadiense, directed by Fabian Leon Lopez. And Laura y El Viento, directed by Natalie Montel. Congratulations to all 4 directors. And now, let's start the discussion. Nate, it's your turn. Take it away.
You know, I mean, I don't speak Spanish, but that sounded pretty good, Dean.
Muchísimas gracias. Muy amable.
Thank you. Before we start the discussion, excuse me, let me share the format for the rest of the evening. We will introduce the panelists and start with a question for each one. Professor Mora will also pose a few questions for them. Thereafter, we're going to open it up for a Q&A. At that point, questions from the audience will be selected. And please feel free to type in your questions throughout the program. And my colleague, Daisy Lemus, will be assisting me in the Q&A. Also, we have Alejandra Vega from UNAM LA, who will be assisting with translation should you ask your question in Spanish, and during times when our panelists may need to explain something that needs translation to English. Finally, I want to mention that we are reserving the last 10 to 15 minutes of the program for the filmmakers to comment on anything that was not asked about or pose their own questions for each other. So we hope you enjoy this event, so sit back and we will get things started. But one thing I want to do, I want to make a shout out to Dr. Jose Luis Benavides. He's a professor of journalism here at CSUN, and he runs our Spanish language journalism program. Jose is an UNAM alum, and I can tell he's from UNAM because he's well bred. But anyway, I know he's on as an attendee tonight, and I did want to give him a little shout out because he went to school there. So anyway. So joining us tonight is Dilek Ince and Daniel Jonathan, both from CSUN. Dilek directed the film Amal, and Daniel directed Ben Dod Shili. And Professor Mora?
We're also being joined by students, ex-students from our university, from our National School of Film Arts, which used to be called Center for Teaching of Film. Well, we changed our name. We became, we have now a master's. So we're like a growing school. So we have Fabian Leon Lopez, who directed El Canadiense, the Canadian. Briefly, he has written and directed the short films Albion Summer, Do Not Walk in Circles, Chambelan, the Canadian, and Bridge of the Mischievous Children, screened at international and national festivals. He graduated from the National School of Cinematography Arts of the National University of Mexico. He has been beneficiary of the National Fund for the Culture of Arts for the writing of a feature screenplay. His short, Adrian's Summer, received the jury award in 6th academic rally of the Guanajuato International Film Festival. His film Chambelan was nominated as Best Fiction Short Film for the Ariel Award, which is like the Mexican Film Awards, granted by the Mexican Film Awards. His documentary, The Canadian, got the Best Documentary Awards from the Hazlo and Corto, granted by the BBVA Vancomer Foundation, as well as the Big Shoulders International Student Film Festival. He's director of The Canadian. Natalie Montel Garcia, she rejoined the our national school in 2018, where she specialized in directing and cinematography. In 2015, she was part of the Bernilale Talent Campus in Guadalajara as a cinematographer. She has participated in various projects, including a feature-length documentary. She has won some awards in the Contemporary Cinema Film Festival in 2018 in Mexico for Best Cinematography, and the Morelia International Film Festival in Mexico 2018 for Best Documentary for a Female Director, Audience Award and Press Award, and at the Caribbean Sea Film Festival at the Dominican Republic 2005, winner for Best Documentary of Short Film. Her film is Laura y el Viento, Laura and the Wind. Well,
Very good.
A long introduction, but I think it was worth it.
Let's have each one of the students say their name so that everybody can see, connect the name with the face. So Dilek, say hi.
Hello, my name is Dilek Ins. I'm the director of the Amal, and thank you for having me.
Daniel
Hey.
Jonathan.
I'm Daniel Jonathan. I directed Ben Docheli. Also, my cousin is the translation. And thanks for having me.
Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie Montel. I'm the director of Laura y el Viento, Laura and the Wind.
And Fabienne.
Hi there, I'm Fabian Leon Lopez. I'm the director of The Canadian.
Very good. Well, let's get this show started. I'll start off with the first question. I'll ask this of each of you. So you can be thinking of the answer while the other filmmaker is talking. But anyway, a very simple question. Why, for each of you, why did you make this film? So whoever wants to go first, go first. Or I'll call on you like in class. Dilek, go first.
Sure. I think I had so many reasons that I did this movie, but mainly it was because of the children. Every time I watch the news about war, my eyes are always drawn to the children. I wanted to show how war affected children, and also there are so many children in the world and who lost their families, their home, and everything, including their childhood.
Wow.
They have become adults in a very young age, and they have no choice. And I felt that no one talks about that, and I feel the children are forgotten. But I wanted to remind them that they are not forgotten. And that's why I put the name of the movie Amal. If you translate Amal, it means hope. So I wanted to give the children hope. That was the reason.
Natalie.
Well, for me, it was more like a healing process. It's a very personal subject. So at the time when I was trying to write the script, I wasn't very convinced that it was worth it to talk about it, no? So I found some diaries of my mother sick. She was sick with cancer. And this was like a signal for me, like something saying you have to do it, it's the right time to do it. So it was like a necessity deep inside of me to do it. And I think it was like the right time in the school also, because this is my thesis film. So we have like we have much freedom to do it, because there are almost no restrictions talking about the cinematographic language. So I wanted to experiment also with the language, and I think it was the right moment to do it. So that's.
Thank you. Fabienne.
Oh, I don't know. No. I just I in some phase of the career, we were about to do a documentary, like an advanced exercise of documentary kind of. So I was kind of searching for stories in this city because I'm from the south of Mexico. I'm not from Mexico City. So when I came here, I was like a little lost in the sense of what to do in a documentary level. And I don't have the money to take off my crew to the south of Mexico to make something of a theme that I like or that I know, you know. So one time I found Tito in the paper. um, so so one time I was like two days from to the day to make the documentary, and I didn't have like a subject, so I just found it and I talked to him, and I don't know what I was doing. I knew that for me the first thing that I was searching by making a documentary, it was that I was looking for experimenting, like with language, with the character, and I was trying to seek for a character, for a person that it was as cynic as me. So and I found in Tito that has this kind of tragic story, but is also like his own story, and he is aware of his own blame. And the most personal side I found in Tito that he kind of healed because of not art, but what I consider creation or expression. And for me, I was related to that because in the South, when I was studying in high school, I had a similar story in my relationship with violence. So I kind of found in cinema like a way of going out and escaping from that. So I was related to that, and I wanted to play with it.
Very good. Daniel.
Well, I think around the time I wanted to make them, like we were going to have our thesis film, I was getting closer to my dad a little bit, and I didn't really grow up with him, and he's Israeli, and he had taken me to Israel in like 2014, and we were there, and during that time there was they were having kind of like there was a war going on between both of them, and I was sitting in a cab, and I remember the sirens running, and just thinking to myself, like, you know, this is not like home at all. And we ended up leaving real fast and going back, and I remember flying into the United States and being like, wow, honestly what a gift it is to kind of like be in a place that felt safe for a little bit. And then I kind of just that fear or whatever that was just kind of just like stuck with me for a little, and then it became something like, well, I have a thesis film coming up, and I kind of want to figure this out, and I don't know what I don't have an idea yet, but there was always like there's always stories or something that sticks with you, and that kind of keeps like talking to you, and I think that was one of them, and it just kind of just this idea of being in a country where these people are kind of all like my dad, and they're all kind of amazing, and they're all really cool, and they all have like they're quite funny and maybe a little misunderstood. And then I thought, well, how can I turn that into something I know how to do, which was kind of like a thriller, because I'd made a thriller before that. So then it became like, well, what if I just turn it into like the way I felt in a cab when all of a sudden the sirens happened and everything kind of started to change a little bit. And then I got to meet some of the most fabulous actors that I really enjoy, Sammer and Ito and David. And so, yeah, I think what inspired me was the continuous process. Like once I, started making it, it was really inspiring. And yeah, so that's basically it.
Very good. Professor Mora.
Okay, I couldn't help noticing that the 4 films are completely different in gender and style. So I wanted to pose a question about if you could elaborate on the criteria for choosing the style of your films. I don't know, Daniel, if you want to start.
I don't really know why I chose the style of the movie that way. It just made me like, number one, I'd watched The Revenant like in 2015 or something, and I remember just being like, you know, that guy is the best. You know, he really knows how to make a movie. And then I said, well, I kind of want to make a movie like that. I want to make a movie I want to watch. And from there it became like, okay, well, let's put a camera in the car with like a 14mm lens and really just flip the, like, let's not make this a car chase movie. Let's make this inside the car. Let's try to really get the audience to feel this without like manipulating them as much as I thought we could. And so as far as that kind of like that style, I always enjoy it. But I think now I've changed completely. I've turned that on its head. Like, I don't think I would ever do those kind of things again. But I think there was this feeling that we all felt on the crew, like, let's try to make something badass or whatever it was. And there was no shame in it. And we tried it. And honestly, there was many times where we were failing miserably. And half the shots I wanted in that movie did not make it in the movie. Yeah. And so in some way, my style was completely informed by having watched a little bit of Alejandro's movie and then watching just kind of just thinking that was the way it was supposed to be told. There was no other way. I didn't want it to be. I remember one of the first things the cinematographer said, Mario and Cuba, was they asked me, like, should we build rigs to like rig the car on, like, you know, typically when you shoot a moving vehicle, you typically like rig the car and have a camera pointing on it. And I was like, no, we need to put it in the middle of the car at some point, and that's how we'll shoot the movie. So and then everything kind of flowed from that, like the first scene kind of handheld and how we just like kind of let it go and some wonky jump cuts and just kind of like let it play. And yeah, that was it.
Okay, Natalie?
I wanted to do something that has more to do with sensation, more than a conventional narrative. So, like using the elements of nature more like as a symbol, and the landscape as a mood, and these kind of things.
Okay. Dilek.
Me?
Yes. Did I pronounce your name all right? Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So I think I had so many. I mean, I influenced watching so many movies, but I think mine was a little bit more experimental. Even though I had a lookbook, I knew what I wanted. You know, like I had looked for Syrian hospital. I had looked for American airport. But when I start shooting the movie, even though I plan everything, it turned out a little bit different than what the style is, because we are exploring, you know, we are trying to find our voice while we do these short movies. So like, for example, movie Children of Man, I really liked it. It was even in my lookbook, that movie, but it didn't turn out like that, you know, like I did my way. So I think I am glad I did that, because I didn't want to copy the movie that already done. So the stylistic, I use handheld because I wanted to create some realistic and more non-stable, you know, not stable look. And I wanted to make it like a kind of people. I want people to feel that they are there, you know, in the hospital, you know, the airport. I don't know if I accomplished that feeling completely, but I try, you know. That was the stylistic choice I did, like, you know, unstable, realistic, different color palette, you know, for 2 different locations. One is warm color, one is more colder color, so to differentiate this different location. So those was the choices that I did before the movie made. So
thank you. Fabian?
Yeah, we try to be as flexible and to be as free as possible because I think that from that movie to the and the next one I did, we just, my cinematographer and I, we were trying not to use that much the influence of another films and that. So we choose to meet Tito, and from that kind of play. So we met him, and the next day we were going to shoot. So that day we decided we take like 3 rules, that it was going to be we were just going to be using one lens. I think we used 21 or 25, and we wanted to be handheld, and that's and we wanted to be in black and white with this in CinemaScope. And the reasons why we wanted to, when we met Tito, this Tito is a very physical person, so I think he's a person that is not afraid of other physical things. So he's more afraid of sentimental stuff. So we wanted to be close with him. We wanted closer to him. We wanted to play with the camera, to follow him, and to listen to him. We just we decided we wanted to do like a simple conversation. We wanted to be having a simple conversation, and the people to be listening what he was talking about, because his story was enough interesting for listening. For me it was important that it is a story related with the political issues in the story of Mexico in the 60s, and he's a person that is not Mexican. He's from Colombia, so we wanted to play with that. And also we decided we wanted to do this black and white and CinemaScope because we thought kind of it was his vision of the world while we were seeking while doing the film. We were seeking for his point of view. So for me, the black and white, and that it tells me the way of viewing of a person that has been kept in prison for almost 30 years. So you just can't see the world the same way as everybody does. So that's what we did. Yeah.
Thank you. So Nate, would you like to continue? Okay.
So here's a fun question for all student filmmakers and actually professional filmmakers. What was, for each of you, what was a major obstacle that you didn't know was going to happen that happened during the making of your film? And we could start this time. We could start first with Natalie.
Well, I think my biggest obstacle was myself at the beginning, because I wasn't sure to do it. I have many doubts. I have a very big crisis. And actually, I began writing another script with another subject, totally different. But then I found these diaries and I convinced myself that it worth it. And then my second obstacle was my father, because I wanted to shoot in the house where I grew up, and he didn't understood exactly what I wanted to do and what I wanted to talk about this story, no? So it was like very hard to explain him and to make him like understand what I wanted to do. And I think this finally, well, I convinced him and I did it.
Okay, let's see, Dilek.
Yeah, many problems. So, short movies usually, they don't have enough money, or, they're always tight. They have tight budget, or they don't have time. So mainly, I think the main problem was for us, location was a big problem, because we have 2 locations, but we had the most difficult locations like airport and hospital that it has to be in Syria. So since we couldn't shoot in the real actual location, so we said, how about building them? So we end up building 2 locations. The airport is not real airport. The hospital is not real hospital. So that took so much time and also money. But I think my crew did a great job, you know, building this location that looked like this. Yeah, I mean, we try to do as authentic as possible with a little budget. Another problem was the casting, finding right actor for the roles. Like the little girl, even though it's here is Los Angeles, a big city, you know, you can find a bunch of, because it's a very diverse city. But it was very hard to find that little girl. She had to speak Arabic, and you know, I wanted to look like Syrian girl, not like a, you know, very, like, I mean, it has to be right cast. So we find her, but it was very difficult. And also extras was a problem, because extras cost so much money. I didn't know that. It cost so much money. And you know, if you build this kind of locations like hospital, you know, airport, if you don't fill with people, they look empty and they look completely not real. So that was a big problem, to find a bunch of you know, extras with a little budget. Another problem was the explosion. Because I want to create a like real explosion, not like, you know, small explosion. And and we didn't have budget to hire a professional person, so we end up making it by ourselves. So one of my classmates was a practical effect person. I mean, he never done that before, but his grandfather was a Oscar winner guy, so he knew how to do it since he was little, so he was able to pull it out. But I was so stressed because first, safety, you know, like, because it's a student project and you have to be like, you know, you don't want to screw yourself in the first project you have done. Like it was very difficult to do, but I think it turned out very well. And then that was the problem. But you know, like if you find the right people, and if you work very hard, and if people see you really want to do something good, they help you. So in my department, like Cal State Northridge is a very great program, because all the mentors are so helpful. They always ready to help you. Any problem you have, they always there to help you. So any problem we had, we solved very quickly. So that was great.
I will say that on the blow up, you end up doing a thing called an air mortar, correct?
Yeah, we use the air mortar.
As opposed to pyrotechnics, which we were planning on doing, which costs a lot of money. This air mortar does not require a license.
Yeah.
And so the faculty did monitor and see how it was done.
Yeah.
And it was safe.
Yeah, it was safe.
Yeah.
It was safe.
It was safe.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I want you to comment on, when you spoke briefly about using the girl, but there are child labor laws that must be closely followed. Talk about how that hindered. Because of the age.
I mean, so if you are using a child actor, you cannot work with the child more than 7 or 8 hours, depends their age. If they're under 7, it's even like 4 hours, I think you can work with them. So that was a big challenge, because we couldn't keep shooting. We have to give a break. She has to go to school, and then, you know, she has to study with the studio teacher. So I had a very limited time to film her, like always like 1 or 2 hours, and then she has to go. So one scene I remember, I think it was the end of the scene. I had only one take, like I had a chance to take only one, and then she had to leave. And I'm like, okay, either we got it or we didn't have an end of the movie. So it's like, that was a challenge, you know. And working with the child actor, even it's very hard because they are like very unexpected, you know. They act like their mood changes so quickly. So you have to always treat them very nice, but not like a child. So you have to know who you are dealing. Like you cannot spoil them, you know. And if you have more than one child in the set, it's even harder, because end of my scene, there is a scene when she opens the door. Like I was planning to use 100 kids, but of course we didn't have budget, so we end up using only 10. So you know, like if you have so many kids in the room, you have to know how to deal with them, you know. I remember I gave them numbers because, you know, like they don't know exactly what we are doing, you know. They are not they are not trained actors, for the extras. So you have to kind of play with them, you know, in order to explain yourself. So I gave them a number when I am shooting close up. So I call number 1, he looks at the camera. Number 2, he looks at the camera. You know, you have to find some tricks to be able to get their performance. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fabienne.
Oh, I really had no problem, but I should tell the story that I failed the course because of the film, because because I cheated. So what happened was that I was supposed to do another film, and I preferred to do this, but without telling the professor. So I was don't do this at home. But I decided to do that. I wasn't responsible, so they didn't pass me, and it cost me a whole year to wait for me to convince the director of the school in that time to watch the film, and because I knew that when they see the film they were gonna like it, because it's nice, it's good. It's entertaining. I don't know. So that was the biggest problem, the biggest problem, because once we have the authorization to do it, we just finished the sound design that is like really straightforward, and the color correction, and that was it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Daniel.
Honestly, the biggest problem I had while making the movie was like remembering what's important when you make a movie, and kind of like learning that, because when I started making movies when I was younger, it was always about the shot or whatever that shot was going to be, and kind of coming off the back of like just loving movies that have cool shots and cool takes and all this stuff. Eventually, when you get to the set or what, like once you start even getting into casting, you realize, well, I don't know if shots are like what I care about anymore. And I started to have this grand vision of how I wanted the movie to look and feel, and all these things that I knew we could accomplish just through like moving the camera and blocking and having a fun time with everybody. But there was this moment where I met Sammer, the actor who played the guy with the gun, and I just said, wow, this guy's like Al Pacino. This guy's a freaking great actor. Like, he's amazing. And what we ended up doing was we started to improvise with each other, and we would improvise. Like, the whole movie was written through improvisation in rehearsals, and I would write down what they would say, and that became this turning point where I built a movie all based on technical aspects, like, okay, the camera's gonna do this, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I started to fall in love with some other aspect, which was like the people in the movie. And I think the movie kind of blurs the lines between that, where it could have been a people movie, it could have been a this movie, but instead it's kind of like a mixture of that. And I'm excited to like make my next film, because that's the journey I want to take, is more of a people movie. And because I found myself hiding behind the idea of, like, let's say a long take or something that I thought would be impressive, rather than realizing, okay, we can't get this shot. The car's not working. This not working. Blah, blah, blah. All this stuff doesn't work on a movie set all the time. And you're like, this doesn't work. I'm never going to get my shot. The movie's never going to look good. But if you just remember that, if you just get the two guys in the car and say, you guys are the really good actors, like, who cares? Just duke it out with each other and just enjoy that. The audience won't care. And so through the whole process, we lost locations, all this stuff. And I would pull my hairs out, and all the producer unit and all of us would just get so upset at all these things. And at the end of the day, if we just focused on the fact that we had 4 cool actors that could probably make it through this movie, or 5, and focus on that, maybe we would have had a little bit less of a trouble as far as every time, like, the car would break down, or we wouldn't get the location we wanted. We got kicked off of it the week before we were going to shoot. We begged them to let us back. They would not let us back. So we had to come up with another location to, like, have that bus stop scene and shoot the whole car sequence. And instead of just sitting down and, and saying, okay, I'm going to focus on these guys. So that's I think a lesson learned. And yeah, that's it.
Professor Mora.
Very interesting. So I think my question will hook up with what has been being discussed. I would like you to tell us about, how did you work with your collaborators, with your camera person, with your sound person, with your characters, actors? I don't know who would like to start. Dilek? You.
Yeah, I mean, film is you need to collaborate with people, and sometimes, I think the key is how sometimes you don't know how to collaborate. Like, you in the beginning of the movie, you don't know each other so much, and the end of the movie, you start, finally you became a friend. But in my crew, I think I was lucky. People were very passionate about what they were. They really helped me to do the movie. They understood I'm very passionate about this project. So I was very lucky. In terms of the actors, I love improvisation too, in the set, because I think you cannot plan everything, and sometimes there's a magic that it comes in the set. Something happens, and but at the same time, I like the plan too. And for example, I plan everything, every shot, before we went to set, and I collaborate with my DP. My editor was in the set. We were watching what we had and end of the scene. So I also like working with actors. Like, I don't usually go to in front of the monitor and watch the screen. I actually never do that. I'm always next to the camera, like, hiding, and I wanna, like, almost like actor can feel my breath, like, I wanna manipulate the actors immediately if something happens wrong. I wanna give them notes immediately, and I don't like to cut. I give the notes, and then we keep rolling, and then in the editing, somehow I think it works better. You don't because it's so on the moment. If you cut and then you go back again, it doesn't work. So that's something that I think my actors, they were a little bit complaining in the beginning, but later on they understood what I was trying to do. I think for kids actor, actually, it worked the way I worked. I think it worked out because I was next to her. She trusts me. So we create that relationship very well in the set. Yeah, in terms of DP, my DP was great. My gaffer, my all cinematography departments. But of course, we are all students. We are exploring. Something that we planned in the pre-production, it didn't work out in the production, so we had to change some stuff. But you know, film is a collaboration. So if you don't collaborate with people in your crew, it definitely affects your movie badly. So I feel I was lucky, you know. That's pretty much it. I think we cannot hear you. Yeah.
Fabian?
Oh. Well, in this case, we just trust when in Tito, like in the story, and it was more of a process. We were how much? We were four people doing the documentary. So the sound guy, me, Diego, who is the photographer, and his assistant, and that was it. And well, I have worked with my DP through the entire career, and at this point, when we were doing this movie, we just know we don't have to talk that much. We just knew where the camera it was going to be next, or we know what we like to see, kind of. So it was very freeing. It was very when we were doing like the interviews, we were recording it in video, but we just used the sound and the audio. And well, I don't know, I always ask them also, like, if you want to ask something to Tito and that kind of things. Yeah, I don't know, I think it was a very light direction, because everybody was trusting that we were telling an interesting and true story, and we were just like following with the wind, with the film. That's it.
Okay, Daniel?
You know, in the beginning, we were all, I think everybody realized that they were dealing with somebody like myself who was just like a little crazy and was going to like work a lot of hours. And I was kind of expecting that from everybody. And then I realized that not everybody wanted to do that, but I got a few that wanted to, so it was kind of fun. And we got like a little bit of a unit where we all just started to like really, I guess, like invest ourselves in what we were about to go through to make this movie happen, because, you know, you have limited resources and limited time, really. And one of the hardest things that we had was, you know, trying to get the sound like in the car. We like, how are we going to do this? We can't use the boom, dude. Like, we can use lavs, but then they ruffle up against things. So we're like, we got some advice from somebody who was like, well, you should use a plant mic and just like hide the mics. And if you look through the movie, you can see the mics in the movie. They like hide in certain areas. There's one in the center console at one point, and it just looks like a radio or something. But and that was something that we were really like, you know, we were stressing about, because we're like, people are going to see them, and then we realized that nobody's going to see it, and if they did, they wouldn't know what it was, and if they saw it, then we made a shitty movie. So, you know, they weren't focusing on what we should be focusing on. And so that was quite neat, like trying to figure out that kind of stuff. And then working with you know, the cinematographer, you know, we had a scenario where I said, I really want, you know, I want to take the camera, I want to flip it to this guy, I want to flip it to that guy while this whole thing's going. So there's really this kind of this momentum, this feeling, almost like when you watch like Lakers Showtime basketball, where the ball's being passed and there's an alley-oop and somebody dunks it. Like, it should feel like basketball. And it's my favorite sport. And I I like, they're like, okay, so what, how are we going to do that? This red weighs like 30 pounds and nobody can lift it. So we started to like, we decided, okay, let's shred off everything off the red. So it just looked like a box. And so it was just a box with a lens. There was no nothing. You couldn't see what you were filming. It looked like just a box. And then what I said, okay, now I'm going to sit in the center console because I don't know how I'm going to tell an operator to perform this scene because all improvise, you know, some of those scenes. My friend Noah was shooting a lot of the picture and he was fantastic. But there was a couple scenes where we were running out of time and I'd have to grab the camera and just sit in the car and just pull something off and see what we can get. And we did, and that was so cool because what I had was like and this was like where you really have like the whole team together and everybody's just, you know, everybody's like fighting for a cause, which was, we didn't know what we were fighting for, but we were having a good time. And it was like, we're sitting in this car, I have this camera, I cannot see anything, it's 200 degrees in the car, and I have these guys in the car, and I said, I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to point at everybody, and you guys are going to be in another car, and you're going to tell me through my microphone if it's good. And so we're like shooting this whole thing, and I'm like whipping it to Sammer, and I'm whipping it to Ito, and I'm whipping it to Arm, and I'm whipping it to David, and I'm just saying like, and I can just hear them going, good, okay, they're in the frame, okay, cool. And then when we're done, we're like, I don't know, we have to leave this place, so we'll find out what we get. And kind of like what Delik is saying is like, I never stop cutting either, because every time you cut, everybody stops and gets a coffee and a donut. But every time you don't cut, everyone is like this apprehensive, like it's timeout, we have to shoot the ball, the game's gonna finish, you know? So you kind of keep everybody on edge that way. And we would do that. And I had 13 hours of footage in an Avid for a 12-minute movie or whatever, however long it is. So I thought maybe I'll change that a little bit as I go on. Maybe hopefully people won't just like settle down. But I also noticed it was good for the actors to do it. And then let's see last thing else. You know, honestly, working with the Foley, like working in Foley was real fun at the end, like the tippy tip of the movie where I just knew that if we could get the guys who were working in Pro Tools to really love this and like really like go for it, they would have a good time. And within like a couple weeks, they were telling me, oh, I have this sound, and I got this thing, and I got the sound for the hit, and I got this. And I'm like, awesome, this is going to be so fun. And then I got my own little recorder, and we went out and we just started making all the sounds and put it all together. And we were really lucky to like have all at the beginning been a little daunted by the task, but enjoy it by the end. Yeah.
Thanks. Natalie?
Yes, for me, well, I choose like a small crew. It was very important for me to have like this intimate mood in the shooting. And for example, working with my DP, me and Shayla work together all the career. So sometimes I was the cinematographer of her projects. Sometimes she was my cinematographer. So we understood pretty well. And it was like we went to make the scouting and like feel the places and like looking for the sun, because we work with a lot of natural light. So it was more like feeling the space and choosing the right moment for shooting, no? But we understood each other like from the soul. It was like we didn't have to talk very much. So, and with the actress, well, I told her about my story, and in the shooting we were like at night. We read some poetry and we read some fragments of my mother's diaries, and it was like more working about a feeling, no, for the next day, and kind of like working more like with intuition, no. With the little girl was very difficult at the beginning because she was like full of energy and running over the place, etc. But her mother helped me a lot, and she told me, you have to give her like real stimuli, because she really has to believe. I mean, when she is scared, you have to tell her there is a ghost in the forest, really. So we made like this mask and really scared her. It was, for me, it was cruel, but her mother told me, no problem. She's going to forget it. Don't worry. I was like, really? And we made this mask and we told her, okay, I told her, there is a ghost in the forest and you have to save your mother. So she believed it really. And suddenly I was like playing with her and we gave like a signal and somebody came with a mask and the girl started to run very scared. And we shoot that scene like that. Like it was very real for her, no? And with the woman that is sick in the bed is my aunt. She is not an actress. She never acted before. So I just told her, remember when my mother was sick and remember how she used to breathe and just feel it and try to do it because she was very near to my mother also. So that's all.
Wow, very good, very good. So these stories are for everybody. The stories are all very personal, which tends to make some of the best films when you do stories that are personal to you. Let's move over to my colleague Daisy Limis and let's take some questions from the audience. Daisy?
Okay, Nate, thank you. There is a question actually about the personal nature and the personal connection. Miss Marie has asked for Laura y el Viento, Natalie, was the film used for a type of closure for you, knowing that your mother lived a beautiful life?
I'm sorry, the word in Spanish, closure, what was the meaning?
Si hubo una especie, si fue una especie de cerrar el ciclo, si este filme funcionó para cerrar el ciclo después de que, bueno, sabiendo que tu madre vivió una vida muy bella.
Okay, yes, totally. It was, yeah, for me, it was like, I don't know the word in English, I don't remember, but like como un homenaje para ella, como.
Like a homage for her?
Yes, and it was like a healing process, yes, very, very important. And yes, I think she lived a beautiful life, but also she lived a very terrible sickness that is cancer. So yeah, it was like also, I hope this film also connect with people that are sick or the people around these people, no? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. There are many comments that are on here about how great the films are, but I do want to turn to a question from Jorge Perez. He's asking for the students that are getting ready and planning their thesis in the following years, what is an advice you wished you knew before making the film? And thank you, Ms. Marie, for the question, and thank you, Jorge, for the question. So what is some advice that you would give yourself?
Like before making the movie or when? Yeah.
Like before you made the movie, what is some advice, now that you know what that was like, what is some advice you would give yourself as a student who is planning the movie as a thesis or a project for the class?
Maybe keep it smaller and be very ambitious, but with being ambitious, try to keep it small because that's when you'll find out what's important in your movie, and that's the story and the actors and all these other things, not the other things you want, like the cool location or the car shot or whatever it is. And even though at the end people might enjoy it and stuff like that, your sanity will be a lot better if you keep it simple a little bit and be ambitious in a simple world. I think I'm learning that.
I can give some advice. I think for me is the most important thing is the story. They really need to believe the story that they are making. So not just like to get or getting picked, you know, they shouldn't pitch something that they don't believe. Like they really need to believe the story they want to make. So after that, they believe the story, they need to find people that they believe them, so that they can they can work, you know, together. Because if they are, because you know, you are director, you are writer, you believe the project, but if people don't believe you and they want to just take the class just to take get credit, they are not going to work as much as you work for the project, and it's not going to turn out very well. So please find the people that they believe you and believe the project that you are making it. And then and be flexible, you know. This is a student project, so don't try to don't treat the project like this is your last project, last chance you have ever taken. So enjoy the process. Enjoy the process, you know. Whatever is given to you, use it, be creative, just make it your best, you know, and treat people nicely in your crew. Be nice to everybody, because after you graduate, you are gonna come across with these people, you know, and they are gonna be your best friend, or you are gonna hate in the end of the shoot. So it's better to be, you know, like just treat people nice, be kind, and do your best, you know. That's the advice.
Okay. Fabian or Natalie, you want to give some advice?
Well, yes. Just be true to yourself. Do not seek like to be fashionable or imitate anyone. Believe in your intuition and break the script. Don't follow the script like it is like, no, just improvise and follow your intuition also, and believe in what you want to do. That's all.
Okay, Fabian, there is one question from Brittany Burkett, and she would like to know, how did you figure out exactly what you were going to shoot? Also, how much footage did you get, and was it difficult in the editing process to flesh out the visuals you were going to show in the film?
Yeah, okay. Well, I think I kind of had an advantage when I was doing this film, because this is my only documentary film. I'm more used to doing fiction. So one thing I try to do always is to listen. It's kind of related to what Natalie said before, because for me the act of listening, the act of viewing the space, to stay there, to relax, to pay attention to the persons that are surrounding you is very important. For me, I try to shoot the least material I can, because I don't want to lose my senses when I'm editing. So I try to do as little as possible. I always, in fiction, I try to do like 3 takes and that's it. And in documentary, I kind of do the same. I just compose like a situation, and I just figure out like 2 angles to do it, and that's it. And if it can be just one, it's just one. And that's it. Because of that, about the footage, we had like, I don't know, 4 hours top, not that much material. I think it was less. I think it was, no, it was like maybe like 4 hours, but it was because we had like 2 hours and a half of just the interviews, and then we have like an hour and a half of just footage like that, and we kind of, yeah, it was easier to play with. It wasn't that difficult to find. So we just in the editing room, we just like composed like the sequences, and at the end we just decided what was the order. and that's it. And I just, it was edited by the person that did the sound, and I just came to the last part to decide the rhythm, my rhythm that I wanted, and that was it. It was pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you, Fabian. There's a question for everybody, and this question comes from Alex Bahunin, and he asks, what did you want audiences to take away from your film?
That's a good one.
Okay, Dilek.
Like me. So what I wanted to take away, I like stories that finishes with like, you know, it doesn't have a clear ending. I love that kind of stories, and it questions the audience, you know. And in my story, I wanted to question people, you know. I wanted to ask people, like, at the end of the movie, you know, Amal, Mary takes the Amal away, you know, the other kids stays in the room. And I wanted the audience to ask themselves, okay, Amal is safe. How about the other kids? You know? And that was the question actually I started writing the movie. That was main question. And I wanted to create, of course, awareness about the children, you know, how the war affects them, but I also ask them, how can we help these people? How can we save them? You know, that's the main question I want audience to ask themselves. That's the, I hope I answered.
Natalie or Fabian, do you want to share a little bit?
Natalie, you want to?
Well, I think for me at the end, it was like what remains is love. This is what connects you with your beloved ones even after death. No, so I think the most important in life is love.
Thank you. Fabian?
Okay, I think that what is important for me, and it was the reason that I came close with Tito, that is the I don't know how you say it, but the freeing act of creation for me is something that basically has to exist in all the people, in everyone. It's important to cultivate it, and to try to seek for creation, because everybody, it doesn't, and in that way it doesn't matter the technique. In the film it matters a lot, but when you are a common person, and I think it's important for you to try to do something. It's important to say whatever you want to say, and for me what Tito does is that, because I don't consider that what he does is art or that kind of thing, but for him is art. So that makes it not only beautiful, but it enlightens the soul, kind of, I think.
I'll answer it also. I think I was dealing with a very sensitive subject that I truly probably had no business talking about, and but I figured I'm going to do it anyway, and I believe in it in the sense that I loved the people more than I loved what the story was. I thought there was more in something to that, and that became kind of the freedom, which was letting them improvise and just letting them play and write the whole movie. I gave them a script, but we didn't use it at all. And I think from that, you know, at the end, even though there's a message and you can kind of feel it, or there's like a poetic ending and sort. I sometimes question that decision and think that for me, I'd want the audience to go away with people just going, you know, those were just dudes. Honestly, those were like people that obviously are funny and they get mad and they have hurt in them and they have their ideas about each other, but at the end of the day, they're just dudes. And I think as I'm growing as a filmmaker, I kind of want to do that again with a movie, but instead of, you know, it's like baking a cake, and at the end of the cake, you can write the message on top of the cake, or you can leave the message away and just let the audience having felt the people and the journey itself. Yeah, I think I was very trying to push it like some sort of a poetic feeling at the end, and I think I didn't want that at the end, and I don't want the audience to come away with something that I wanted them to come away with, so much as it'd be nice as a learning experience to let them observe this movie and then feel something afterwards and tell me about it rather than me tell them. I think that's what I'm learning now.
Okay, thank you. We're kind of winding down in terms of time, and so we have a lot of questions, and we're going to try to find a way to capture these questions and work with the filmmakers to find ways to get answers for them after the panel discussion today. But I wanted to ask this last question before I turn it over to Nate. The last question is, can you explain the feeling you had once you finished your film? And just to probe a little bit, Ruben Fuentes asked this question, and he said, were you content? Did you believe you achieved what you wanted? Would you have done it differently? So sort of as probes, but you know, how did you feel once the film was complete?
I felt, you know, when it was done, I looked at everybody, we all were like, you know, I think we thought it was finished once we were at the showcase, and we all said, damn, we made a good movie. And then when I went to bed, I woke up the next morning and I was like, all right, that movie sucked, let's make a better one next time. And that was kind of like the feeling, which was like, you know, it didn't, and I would never change anything about it, but I would change the next thing I would do, and I would learn from that experience. So I felt extremely accomplished that we had gone from beginning to end on it. And I felt great that I had learned a lot more about how I want to tell stories, honestly.
Yeah, for me, I remember after we shot the movie, I couldn't wake up 1 week. I was exhausted. I was exhausted. And then everybody was saying like how when we were shooting during the movie, everybody was taking a break and everything. I never took a break. Like I was always like very energetic every time I was like running around, and I don't know how I got that energy, but after the movie I was completely dead. And yeah, of course I don't know, I didn't feel very good end of the movie. Like I didn't think that I did so well, but after 1 week I said I did my best. And when we see the footage, you know, we start cutting the movie, people's reaction, they liked it. And then I say, you know, some point you have to just move on. You cannot just keep doing, you know, make it perfect. You just need to just move on, and you have to deal what you have and go to the next project. But you know, you cannot just keep having question yourself, oh, I should have done this, I should have done this. Of course I could have done much better if I had the opportunity to do again the same movie, but I wouldn't do the same movie again. So just move on. Yeah.
Fabian, you want to jump in?
Okay. For me, I was very nervous when we finished when we were finishing the film, not only because of everything that happens academically speaking, but because I wasn't like really convinced of the film in terms of, I don't know if I got it to be deep enough, kind of. So I didn't know what to expect. I knew when we were finishing the film, I screened it to some people, to some professors, some advisors to watch it, and they all were laughing and they all liked it, but I just wasn't sure it was like getting beyond that. So I don't know, but the time it came with in our school we have a season where we do this student film showcase. La muestra fílmica is name is called, and it was a big moment for me because it opened my eyes. It let me see. For me, the most beautiful thing that happened, it was the moment in that screening when Tito saw the film, because I knew then, only then, I knew that my commitment was with him, with his story and what he was telling and what he was trying to do and say with tattoos and his story surrounding tattoos. So for me, that was what makes for me successful the film at last, because in the other tenses, in the other terms of film form and I don't know, and directing style, I was never sure, but at the end I knew that it was okay, and it is what it is, and at last it is the film that has given me more awards, so it's okay.
Funny. Natalie?
Yes, when we finished the shooting, I was emotionally and physically exhausted. But in the end, it was like a catharsis. So it was good after a week that I realized it was a catharsis. It was okay. Then it came the editing. It was very hard for me. It took me like almost a year to finish the movie. And then it came this what Fabian said, the muestra fílmica, and it was like very beautiful to see my movie screen in a big screen for the first time. And at the end, somebody came to me and told me that it really touched her heart. So for me, it was like, okay, this is it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Nate, I'm going to pass it over to you since it's already 8:23.
Very good. So for the filmmakers, is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience that wasn't asked, or you can ask a question of each other? Yeah, how about that? Who wants to start?
So what question, what are you guys doing right now? What is the next project you guys are working on?
Good question. Go ahead,
Natalie.
Faith.
Oh, okay. Nothing. I don't know. No, I have coronavirus, so that's my neck right now. No, right now I'm just we're finishing in Mexico. I don't know you, but we have to do these big project dossiers. So this, I don't know. We have to explain like in a lot of pages how do we want to do the project that we want to be funded. So right now I'm finishing another dossier and of a short film. I have 2 of them, and I am writing what I wanted to be my first feature. I had a grant to writing a few years ago, and I wrote a film, but it's too expensive. So now I'm learning that I have to write something cheaper, because I don't know. Right now in Mexico, we have a government that that it's taking out money of for culture and it's taking it to somewhere else. And so I don't know, I'm trying right now to write in something else, something that I can do in the land that I come from, that it's important to me to say something, because it's a place that it hasn't been filmed yet. So it's very surprising. It's not registered in film. I think there are just like 2 films that are from like 50 years ago, that where my place, where my home is at. So now that's what I'm doing right now.
Anybody else?
I am. Oh,
No, go
Daniel?
ahead, Natalie. No, seriously, go ahead.
Okay. I am writing a project, a documentary that is just at the beginning, working with another director. And I work as a freelance, as a cinematographer, but now everything is totally stocked. So trying to be patient and writing, and yeah.
And
I'm writing a movie about my dad, and I was honestly, the movie that I'd made for my thesis was the gift that gave me this next movie I want to make, because my dad helped me through the process of making the thesis, because he was there in the casting room, and he's like, Danny, I'm not going to let you cast this movie unless I see the people. And I said, okay, cool. And then we started to do that, and I started to see the people, and we kind of started to go through it. We all believed in the same people. And then my dad came to the United States in 1986 to be a guitar player. He's like one of the most fantastic flamenco and electric guitar players I've ever met, but he's crazy and ended up becoming a diamond dealer and a hustler and getting our house shot at many times as I was a kid. And like, he got us into a lot of interesting situations just by his own bravado and ego a little bit. And I've always loved it. And my dad's the kind of guy who will just die laughing at his own joke. And he's fat and he eats corn like crazy. He's just a crazy guy. And I love watching him eat. And I just, I want to make a movie about this kind of a guy, like this person. So right when I finished my thesis, I just started recording him, like without him knowing, just secretly, like illegally recording him and saying, Abba, tell me a story about when you were, fucking people and doing all this shit. And, oh, trust me, I have so many stories about how many people I owe money or whatever. And he would just say all these things. And I'd be like, oh my God, this is a movie. Like, this guy is just such a guy, and I just wanted I want to make a movie that's a hangout movie with these kind of people who truly are so real and so just like honestly just beautiful, and like they smoke cigarettes until like every day they wake up. That's who I like, and I just found myself writing a movie about it. So I wrote a movie, made a mood reel for it. I have a lookbook for it, shot some test footage for it. And now I just got to think about how to put it all together and make the feature. So we'll see.
Wow.
Me. I am writing a feature as well and TV show, 2 projects at the same time. And I'm in the MFA program, so I have to write. And the feature is the story is about my country. So it's set in Turkey. It's a little bit political movie that I think it's gonna put me in so much trouble. But I'm gonna write it anyway. I'm gonna write it anyway. And TV show is here. I'm writing a story. It's set in United States. It's fun story. It's a 30 minutes pilot. So yeah, 2 projects I'm writing, and writing is so much fun and takes so much time.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be wrapping it up, but Professor Mora, we're educators, we're teachers. So is there anything you'd like to say to all of our attendees tonight and to our filmmakers? Any words of wisdom?
I don't know if words of wisdom, but I would tell people to do what they want to do what they like to do, to do not compromise, do not leave things in the middle, like I couldn't do it, so I just left it. No, you have to keep on pushing till the end. I think that's the most important thing, because narration, especially film narration, I believe is one of the most important activities of the human species, because it's on what we base culture and storytelling and sharing experiences. That has made us what we are. So basically, that do things you believe that are really important.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank our panelists, Dilek, Daniel, Natalie, Fabienne, and Professor Mora, and everyone who made this event happen, including everybody that's watching. And we hope you enjoyed the discussion. And we will be posting this recording on our site to archive the event. So we also hope that you will watch all of the films of the fest. And by popular request, the fest will be extended until May 31st. So all the way through the end of May. And we look forward to seeing you next year when we have this, hopefully we will have this event again. So thank you and good night and God bless.
Thank you for inviting.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye to all of our friends in Mexico. We hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Bye, all.
Here.